Hey girls, welcome to the Asterisk Podcast. I'm your host, April Biondolillo. Hey girls, welcome back to the Asterisk Podcast, where I'm your host, April Biondolillo. And today on the show, we have one of my dear friends, which actually funny story of how we got to reconnect that maybe we're going to do in a little bit. But we have Cheyenne come out, and she is 24 years old, works at the Seattle's Union Gospel Mission as the graduate internship program case manager. Outside of work, Shy is a youth leader for senior girls at East Ridge Church, and she has been there for 6 years, leading these girls since 6th grade, which I think is absolutely incredible. She grew up in Sumner, Washington, and then found her way to Issaquah, Washington. She is dating her favorite guy in the whole world, John. Wow. Shout out to John. She made sure to put you in the bio. That's a good sign. And her favorite things to do are reading, enjoying the fall experience, and starting to listen to Christmas music too early just to be that person. We love that person. So, Shai, thank you so much for being on the show today. I am so excited for our conversation. I know it's going to be a good one, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
It's going to be good. Okay, so share a little bit with us, Shai, just about your upbringing, a little bit about your testimony, and when you started to follow Jesus.
Yeah. So I didn't grow up in a home that we consistently went to church. I think it was definitely that Easter, Christmas kind of going family. But even then, I didn't really focus on what we learned. I kind of just went in the back, colored, drew on the paper, and kind of. So I didn't really have that Christian culture wherever I was, whether it was at school, whether it was at home. And so getting plugged into church just wasn't a part of my life at the time. And so a lot of elementary school, a lot of middle school was a lot of me just not knowing who I was and trying to figure out just that. So in middle school, I played a lot of sports. I had a lot of friends, and I was trying to just be a part of whatever was like the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just known as like the nice girl. I like hand wrote Christmas cards for every single person in my grade every year.
That's so sweet. That's actually really cute. I love that.
I would stay up all night, and my dad's like, "Who are you buying these things for? Who are you writing these cards for?" And I would just stay up and do everything I could, like shower people in love. And I never really knew what I was doing. I didn't know what I was thinking, and just pouring out what I knew as kindness at the time. And so through middle school, I like still couldn't define what it was, but I was trying to search for something. Like I was trying to, like at the time, I didn't connect that to approval. I wasn't sure that I was trying to like earn these people's love by doing things for them. And so through middle school, that was a consistent pattern for me. And then I wasn't introduced to Jesus until high school. And so through my life, every family has their dysfunction, and the things that I went through continue to build me up into like a very powerful leader within my friend group, within my school. And so in high school, I was on top of the world. I loved doing life with the friends that I had. I loved playing basketball. I loved playing volleyball, and everything was like at its peak. And then I got introduced to Young Life. Young Life was the first kind of introduction to Christianity that I experienced. And I had a couple of friends invite me to a club, which is kind of where they gather together. And it's kind of more of a low-key, like bring your new friends to this Christian hangout kind of thing. And so I met my leaders, I met my friends, and it was an amazing experience. And I went to camp, and my leader even paid for me to go. Wow. And I had an amazing first encounter with the Lord of just like being able to understand who he was and all these people experiencing him at this beautiful place, Malibu, Canada. And it was a beautiful experience.
Beautiful location.
And so, and I feel like the Lord planted seeds there for me to understand who he was, and just that simple introduction. And so coming back from that, I talked to my dad, and I was like, "Who is this Jesus?" And he was like waiting to tell me all about it. And we stayed up for like 5 hours as soon as I got back at 1 in the morning. And he just told me, he went through all of the Gospels and was like, this is what you need to know, and this is who Jesus is. And I would ask him all these questions about like, what is this, and what is fasting, and why did Jesus do that? And he would just answer those questions the best way he knew how. And so my dad has been a huge pillar in my life. He's one of my best friends. And so he has been a huge support system and never forced us to believe in Christ, but always just did the right thing. And he is the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. So he just is an example of a disciple. And so we saw a lot of Christ through the way he lived his life, but never associated it because we never knew. And so I didn't have much like follow up into being integrated into church after that Young Life experience. So I kind of was just trying to do things on my own. I got baptized because I was like, is this the right next thing to do? And like trying to do these things to continue to sustain the experience that I had. And then sophomore year, in between sophomore year and junior year, I moved to Issaquah, Washington. And so my mom got a new job in Issaquah School District. And I was not ready for this. I didn't even believe it until we were like moving, like the week of. He had told me, hey, we're going to move to Issaquah. And I was like, I don't even know where that is. I don't even know how to say that. And
wait, where?
I was like, I would prefer not to. And so we ended up moving, and I just went into this. I feel like we all have like a goth era, or at least my attempt to be.
Absolutely.
I just like was like, I'm going to shut down, and no one's going to know who I am. I'm going to change my whole personality, and it didn't work because I still am who I am. And so I got plugged into Issaquah High School, started going there, and it was really hard to make new friends. I've never been a new student anywhere. I've never not known everybody where I was. Like in Sumner, it's so small. You go to the grocery store and you see half of your neighbors, or you go to the Safeway down the road and then you see all of your family. So it's like a very different dynamic being in a bigger city with a lot of different people. And so I really felt out of place. And it started to remind me of like middle school and elementary. My first go-to was like, how do I earn love here? And I was blank. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. And so one weekend, my mom was like, let's go try this church. Let's just give it a shot. I know you don't want to be here. I know you don't want to do this, but let's go try it. And so we go to East Ridge Church in Issaquah, and it's on a Sunday in November. And I just remember sitting in like the middle row, like trying to keep my head down so that nobody looks at me. And this girl comes up to me, and her name was Michaela. And she comes up to me and she goes, hey, what's your name? And I was like, Cheyenne. And I gave her like the side eye.
Like,
and
don't
she
talk
was
to me.
I was like trying to channel my inner attitude. I was like, I'm not going to be a friend. And so
I love it.
She was like, well, my name is Michaela, and I go to this church, and I've been going to this church for a long time. And I was like, oh, that's cool for you. And she was like, just so sweet. And she was still smiling, and she didn't walk away. And she just looks at me, and she's like, we have a Friendsgiving tonight if you'd like to come at our youth group. And I was like, yes. And I like rolled my eyes, and she walked away. And then I ended up going.
You're like, but I'll go.
I did. I was like, fine, I have nothing else to do. But I went, and I met the youth pastors at the who are still the youth pastors now, but Josh and Carrie. And it was just a different experience. I was like, I've never been in a setting where people like welcome me and like the attention was on me. Like they were like, oh my gosh, what's your name? And I'm like, what? Stop, I like attention. And
you're like, wait, but keep going.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. Like, and so they were like the sweetest right off the bat. And then Michaela had approached me, and she didn't leave my side all night. Like she was there, and all it took for me to get there was just one invitation.
Wow.
And so that was just a different perspective for me, that someone went out of their way to ask me to come with them to a youth event. And so it was a Friendsgiving. We got to know each other. And that kind of started a momentum of me going to youth church more, going to the youth events more as a student. And then me and Michaela built our friendship. And that was the first Christian founded friendship that I had that was built on the firm foundation of the Lord. And she would help coach me through everything from like not swearing to like, what am I supposed to wear to church? And all these things. And it just was amazing to have someone alongside of me go through the steps of how to be a disciple. And I loved how she came alongside of me, and she didn't tell me what I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
She would tell me to do things right. Like, and it was never like, you need to fix this, you need to do this. She was like, no, the Lord loves you, and he loves you so much.
Yeah.
He calls us to do this. Like, let's look at the Bible and see what it says. And
I love that.
Oh, okay. And then I couldn't argue with that. So
you're like, what do you say to that? Yeah. I love it.
And so leading up to that year, so the end of my junior year, I went to my first youth church camp. And I had a youth leader at the time named Crystal, and she was leading me through that whole year, and she went to camp with me as well. And Michaela was in my group, and we go to summer camp, and I've never experienced summer camp, and this is a whole new experience. And from the worship to the service to like the games, and there's just this experience about summer camp that only happens at summer camp.
Yep.
And so it was an amazing time. And then one of the nights that we had a speaker, they were praying over everyone, and I didn't really feel like I connected specifically to the message.
Right.
But at the altar call, I felt like this nudge on my heart to just go. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. And I go up and I raise both my hands, and my youth leader comes up to me and she goes, "You're called to lead women." And I was like, oh, I first did like the side eye, like, what just happened? But then I was like, wow, like I've never had something spoken over me like that. And it was something that was not in my vision for what I had 5 years ago. Nothing
not what you were pursuing. Yeah.
Nothing I felt experienced in. And she just spoke that over me, and then she prayed. And ever since that moment, that was something that was constantly on my mind. Like, what did she mean by that?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was still a teenager that was making mistakes. So I was just like, you really want me to
Are you sure? Yeah. Absolutely.
And so it was a weird thing. And so the next year I dove into discipleship by leading a group of girls alongside of Michaela that Michaela already started leading.
Love it.
And it kind of introduced me to what leadership was, and living to a higher standard, and kind of the basics of leadership. And then Josh coaching me through like, this is what we believe. And this is how you lead other students through the experience you had. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And so senior year, I still kind of was learning who I was and trying to navigate all these things that like adulting, but like still a high schooler, and 18 is like a weird age of transition. And so there was things that I was walking through that was really, really difficult at the time. And then Josh pulls me aside one night at youth and was like, I would love for you to lead the new youth girls going into 6th grade. And I was like, oh, that's so scary. And I don't know if they're going to like me. And being the people pleaser that I was, and like needing the approval of man, I'm just like, these kids are going to hate me. I'm not qualified to lead. I was not chosen for this, but my leader did pray for me. And I'm trying to figure out how the Lord is positioning me right now. And the voice of the Lord was not evident in my life at this time. I was like, I could be thinking about Taco Bell one second, and then
like, Lord, is that you?
Yes.
Nacho Bel Grande? Okay.
I was like, if this is discernment, I don't know if this is other people's discernment too.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. So I was trying to just navigate what that meant for me. And I was looking at it through a lens of what this means for me. And so then I feel like being coached through my internship at Eastridge and being a youth leader, I said yes to the call and was like, okay, as long as you're doing this and like holding my hand through the process of understanding leadership, I will do this. And I mean, the accountability that comes with leadership is amazing, because with great leadership, they will love you to the point where like you reflect on the things that come to the surface, and all of the things that you might have been hiding will come out. And it's like, when you're responsible to lead other people, I think you're naturally going to be uncomfortable often.
Oh, that's good.
It was a very fresh feeling for me in my younger years. And so I did say yes. I started leading the 6th grade girls, and that's kind of the beginning of my leadership journey and walking into what the Lord had for me there. And so that continues to pour into the discipleship journey as a young adult, but even pockets of, I think for me, a lot of the harder part of my life was even after saying yes to Jesus, because I think that there's this false, well, not false. I would say that there's this idea that when you say yes to Jesus, that things get easier.
Yeah.
And in my case, actually, I felt like it did get harder, and the Lord knew what it would take to understand the depth of his love. And so even after saying yes to what he called me to do, even saying yes to him, I went through a season of homelessness. I went through a season of my own recovery and the choices that I was making, and even just recognizing what was wrong in my life. And I didn't know until I had a position of leadership. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't be drinking if I'm telling these girls not to drink.
Yeah.
And or if I'm leading by example, then what am I representing for Christ? How am I representing the truth? How am I representing being a disciple if I'm not living that out? And so I clung to the word of God, and even just things started to come out of my life. And I started to look at myself in the mirror, and I was not in a shameful way. It was a different perspective of the Lord pulling things out of me that couldn't stay because I was being called to a higher standard. And so I had to recognize that he is faithful. And if that means stripping me of everything in my flesh, then it's all worth it. And so through every step of that journey, I learned the hard lesson that obedience is so important. And I don't want to pay the cost of disobedience. I'd rather pay the cost of obedience. And so saying yes has been the first step, but the things that follow when you say yes are just as important. And so we have to live to the standard of the obedience that we're called to.
Wow. You just said like so many good things. I'm like, Shy, you are so wise. No, I love, first off, I just want to say that as soon as you felt this call, I think sometimes we're like, when this leader spoke this over you, like you're called to lead women, it's like, where do I go? What do I do? And you were just like, okay, well, here I am. Like, I'll serve where I'm already at. And he just kept placing those opportunities in front of you. And it was just a constant saying yes when you didn't feel qualified, saying yes when you're like, but if you looked closer into my life, there's some areas that maybe if you knew that, you wouldn't be asking me. And I also love the fact of hitting at, sometimes I think, and I wrestled with this a lot too. A lot of my own story was when I was called to places of leadership, I also had like this secret addiction in my life that I knew was wrong and I was trying to overcome it. And I always tell people this is that the Lord sees the difference between struggling and struggling well. And so what I did with that is I brought that in front of my leaders. So I was very honest of like, hey, this is where I'm at, but it's not where I want to stay. And it is like what you're talking about. It's not condemnation. It's not looking in the mirror of, April, you suck. You're the worst. You need to get this together. It's, God, I want more of you, and I'm seeing more of you in my life, and it's what I want to chase after, and I need your help in it. And I think that's the process you were walking through of, wow, I'm actually experiencing purpose and feeling alive in this, and I don't want to miss out on it, but I would be dishonest by not saying there's also these things that life circumstances or the enemy or just even my own thoughts of, patterns that we get stuck in, coming to distract, coming to derail. So I need some help. Did you pull in your leaders at that time? Like, did you have like mentors or friends that you were like, hey, this is what I'm walking through. Keep me accountable. What did that process look like for you?
Yeah, it all came out all at once. And my mentors have a way of doing that in a good way. Like I love my mentors. Like all they have to do is look at me, and I'm just like, Kira, and just start
tears puddle. There you go.
Every time. And so it was about 6 months. I was homeless for 6 months, and I was super shameful for being in that position. Just being given an opportunity to lead, just being given an opportunity to step into a higher calling, and then this is the state that I'm in, kind of thing. And so I mustered up the confidence I had left to get dinner with one of my mentors, and I told her, I said, this is what I've been going through, and I'm not proud of it, and I don't know what you want to do. I don't know if you want to fire me. I don't know if you I don't know what you want from me at this point, but I've lost everything and I have nothing. So whatever I have to give is the last of it. And the first response was just tears of like, I'm so sorry you've been going through this alone. And
wow.
I'm so sorry that no one saw you in this and you've been walking through this, and we want to come alongside of you, and we're going to find you a home, and we're going to help walk alongside of you in this, and you don't have to be alone anymore. Yeah. And I love the fact that they spoke to who I was. Yeah. And they're speaking about saying, like, you are still a daughter of the King. You are still a disciple. You're still a leader. And this is just something that we're going to figure out. And I'm like, absolutely. Okay, awesome. And so it was more than just addressing the surface level. Oh, you're homeless. Oh, you're drinking. It was, hey, we actually need to get to the bottom of this and what's going on in your heart. Yeah. And then let's continue to pray about just the things that have maybe built up to this. And so I ended up getting plugged into counseling at my church, and they have counseling offered through the church. And that's where I kind of did a lot of that deep work and a lot of my recovery through. And they kind of helped me walk through the difficult phases of like, this is where all this is coming from. And so it became easier and easier to talk to people about it, but it definitely wasn't easy right off the bat because I didn't feel like I was supposed to be going through that.
Yeah. Would you say your drinking was correlated with being homeless, or do you think that that was just something you picked up and started to wrestle with? Like, what was leading you to start drinking and having that addiction issue?
Yeah, so I actually started drinking at a young age, starting at the age of 10, and navigating through life as a young person in middle school and high school, picking up a habit of drinking by myself. And so because that was something that I picked up, it didn't even feel natural drinking with a bunch of people. I felt even more drinking in parties or group settings, or even like before events and stuff like that. I didn't feel like I was on the same like excitement that everybody else was in, or the party mode that everybody else was in. I was like, and then I knew in my mind, I was like, I'm different than most of these people. And maybe I'm not, but I was like, I need this to literally forget everything that I'm going through right now. And it became a habit, just trying to cover up the things I was hiding, like the things that I was tucking deep inside. It became something that numbed what I was feeling. And even to the point where I got to, many times did I ever get to the point where I literally felt nothing, not because of drinking, but I taught myself not to feel. Wow. And so anything that would help me like feed that was something that I turned to often. And then it continued until my later years. And now I've been 3.5 years sober. And so
amazing.
That's
a hard wrestle, especially starting at such a young age, because it becomes just like part of who you are is what it feels like. It's just normal, it's what you reach for, it's what you go to. So I commend you for being at that point sober and being here and sharing about it, because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions, and you work at the UGM, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I also got to work at the UGM for a period of time. And just after you sit with so many women and you hear their stories, it's very humbling. It helps you see people on a totally different perspective. And I love the response from the mentor in your life and the people surrounding you, just like you specifically said, they were calling out who you were and speaking to who you were, then these choices that you were making and not connecting that to your identity, which is really, really powerful, because in culture and society, you get labeled for your issues or your areas of struggle. And in the walk with the Lord, when it's done right, when you're not meeting religion, but you're meeting, with Jesus, he doesn't call you by your issue. He calls you by a child of God, which is so powerful and can change everything, because that population that I was working with at the UGM, sometimes they hadn't even heard a person call them by their name in years, and so it's just, you forget the power and the weight of that until you're in a season where, I haven't been told or reminded of who I am. I've almost forgotten that I am someone, you know what I mean? So I think that's super huge. With the homeless season, just because I know people are on here like, wait, what? Like, talk how, and you can be as forward as you want to be. You can, share as much as you want or little as you want. But was the drinking what led to the homelessness? Was that a choice of yours to kind of separate from those choices you were making? What led you to be in that position?
Yeah, so I was going through a series of difficult experiences that were causing harm to me, my identity, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so I just wanted to be on my own because I feel safe. And so I chose to live in my car for about 6 months. And so my car was a small Toyota Matrix. And she was faithful though. So, I mean, it was a very ghetto car, but she made it work. And, I mean, my car was very safe. It was really hard to break into. And, I would just, in between, I would sleep at other people's houses as like a sleepover or hang out with my friends and then shower at their houses, but I never said anything. So I would just be like, hey, want to hang out this weekend? And then end up sleeping at their house. That would be my shower. And then, like living the rest of the week just on the grind working. And then I was still, I wasn't going to school anymore. That was started in the summer. So it was a really difficult time. But looking back at that, the experiences that led me to that just pushed me to be isolated. And so it was the safest decision for me to just be on my own, do my own thing, and not even explaining to my family, not even explaining to my friends kind of what I was going through. And so the only place that I knew how to process all that was in my car. Honestly, with the Lord, I mean, I was still keeping up a prayer life of like, hey, what are we going to do? What are we going to, and in that season, even the Lord always provided. I mean, from food to money to being safe and the favor that was over me and not being, I mean, anything can happen to you just outside. So
protection for
was
sure.
really covered in what the Lord had for me. And I was thankful that he protected me in that season. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. That is wild, but I think it just speaks to what we'll dive into, just who you are today and what God has placed inside of you. And it's even funny just like hearing back of, you writing those notes for those cards at Christmas time, loving on people and just the experiences you walk through, being spoken over. Hey, you're called to lead women. And now that is a very big part of who you are, not just at youth group. So I'm going to transition us a little bit to share with us just a little bit of what you do now for a living. I know we had it in your bio of working at the Seattle UGM, but share with us what it means to be a case manager, your position. What does a day in the life with Shy look like at the UGM?
Yeah. So I am the graduate internship program case manager. And I will say this forever, but this is my dream job. I love my job more than anything. And I feel like I'm at full capacity with what God has called me to do. And that he can continue to excel. So it really blows my mind that he can do even more than where he's positioned me right now. Wow. And so with my job, it's a second year to our recovery program. So it's a second year recovery program at the Seattle's Union Gospel Mission, where the ladies graduate a 1-year recovery program and then they can apply to my program. And so my program is focused on leadership and discipleship. And it's created for women to understand who they are as a leader, who they are as a disciple, and what does that mean as soon as they leave the UGM? Like, what does that look like? And how do we train these women to be the best version of themselves? And so we have classes every single week. We have about 7 to 8 classes from like biblical values, leadership 101, discipleship 101. We have learning hour where they just literally learn. They pick up a book or they listen to a podcast or they watch it like the Bible Project and they understand like, oh, there's an ongoing learning process to just sitting here and listening to a teacher teach me. But learning about where each woman comes from is so different. And so I have to shift the curriculum for every session of women, which is about every 3 months, there's a new group of women that come through, and we have to shift the curriculum because it's different people. And so different ladies come in with different skills. And so you kind of have to adapt to that. But being a case manager, I basically am like their assistant walking through life, and I love it. I get to track just like their schedules and make sure and hold them accountable. And so using a lot of those qualities that my mentors used with me growing up, and positioning them to be able to operate in their gifts as a leader and a woman leader. And it's been amazing to see that and to be able to tap into just my gifts as far as leading and operating in the calling that God has for me. And it's funny to me because I failed a lot of college and I did not finish college. And the one question that I get from a whole lot of people is like, what did you do to like get this job? And I was like, I went through my own recovery because the person that actually counseled me worked here at the time. And he was like, she's the one that requested, like, you should work at the UGM. He would do great with it. And I was like, that's funny because I'm not called to kids ministry. And so, but she was like, it would be a great place for you. You would rock it with the youth. And so that's where I started. I started in our youth ministry here at the UGM, and then eventually was able to be given the opportunity to restart the graduate internship program from scratch.
Amazing.
And the director at the time, who was another one of my work mentors, she was like, I just trust you to build this up. She was like, discipleship, now do it. And I was like, okay. And so it is what it is today. And I love what I do, and being able to build relationship with the ladies, being able to keep them accountable, but also doing life with them and then sending them out to real jobs and having housing and maintaining their recovery has been amazing. And the best part of that, and I don't know if I'm skipping ahead, but the best part of that is seeing women, like the women that have graduated my program, they're working at treatment facilities, they're working at other programs, and we're seeing women come into the recovery program that were requested by the women that graduated the graduate internship program. So I'm like, this is literally disciples making disciples and then planting seeds across.
I love that. So that's powerful. What is, for anyone that maybe doesn't know, what would you describe as like the demographic of women that come into this program?
Yeah, so going into the first year, a woman could be homeless, addicted to anything really, but we focus a lot on serving women that navigate drug addiction and have gone through abuse. And specifically, we have classes for DV support too, which is domestic violence. And then any kind of level of trauma, we just want to make sure that we serve our homeless neighbors well. So it could be, we've expanded a lot on what we teach, but our direct audience is homelessness.
I love that. It's so crazy every time I look back at knowing that I got to work in a place like the UGM, because I would have never put that on something that I was going to walk into, but it was the most incredible time. What would you say, I'm curious, are some misconceptions that we as individuals have about the homeless community?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just throwing you for left field here. Like, she was like, that's not a question you had on the list.
No, I think it's good. I don't know if it's wrong, but like that they're different. I think that sometimes a lot of the homeless community, they're just the same as us. A lot of the things they're dealing with are just external.
Yeah.
You can see it. I mean, for me, like I hit a lot of that, and I lived homeless, and eventually it all came out. So then I feel like a lot of the people that I serve here, it's just, man, they're at a point where God can do something amazing because it's just out there. And I feel like I'd rather come alongside of someone who just is open and is navigating maybe something more on the outside, that I'm able to be like, hey, I know what that's like. For someone who hides everything or pretends like it's not happening. And so I think another thing that came to mind was that that we're not here to save homeless people. Like this is here to save homeless people.
Yeah.
And we were called to make disciples, or we're called to love people well. We're called to serve and to seek the lost. And if those are the people that are here on the streets in Seattle, then cool. But those are also some people in our workplaces. Those are some people in big organizations as well. And I think that the homeless community are people that are just lost and they don't know, because I was in my car when I was in my car and I knew that I didn't have anyone else. I had nothing. Right. Trying to navigate that alone was so hopeless. And so we can offer hope. Like, we're here to offer hope. We're here to offer love. We're here to offer kindness. And if that is, that looks like so many different things, especially here at the mission. But I think that our organization does a really great job about like giving a helping hand at whatever they need and meeting them where they are.
Yeah. No, I think it's so true. And I think a lot of the times too, I remember when I first moved to the Tri-Cities area, I remember being at my local church and someone in conversation, very innocent, nothing harmful in it, was just like, man, you don't really see a lot of the homeless population here. And it had me thinking of, I wonder what you envision homelessness to look like. Because in my position, and I don't come from like I know better than you, because I probably would have asked something very similar before working at the UGM, because it's very eye-opening in what you learn. But I was like, I could name 5 women that are living at the shelter that go to church here. You just wouldn't know, because you have this idea of like raggedy clothes, has a certain odor, but people are very inventive, people are very creative, and people know how to hustle. And like, some of the hardest working women I encountered worked at or lived at our shelter. And it's just the luck of the draw. I don't know, it's just like, if you don't have the family support that you do, money can dwindle overnight and you don't even realize it. I think there's a lot of times people think, oh, they don't know how to budget their money, and there's just little comments. And it's just, if you could just sit down with a person, and this is why I love Jesus, because he was so good at getting at eye level with every individual and knowing their story and hearing their heart, and it changes everything. Going right back to what you're talking about of speaking to the person rather than this idea about or what people have said or what they look like. And so I love the work that you're a part of. I got to speak to one of the groups of women that you were leading one time, and it's just evident that they love you and what you're doing, and your whole heart is there. It was actually super funny. We said this in the intro that we would share, so I'll fill everyone in. I was at a UGM conference in Spokane. I'm in the bathroom, just, in the bathroom, and I walk out, and here's Shy. And the funny thing is we had actually met previously at Eastridge, which I will speak to the fact of, I was an intern at my church, and my youth pastor was like, you need to go to Eastridge under Josh Jameson. He's got his interns, and they do a leadership class. You should just go. And so I was just like this random girl from another church that would go, but it was so good. So I kept going back, but that's how I had met you. And then all like years later, here we are in the UGM of Spokane in the bathroom. We're like, wait, what are you doing here? I had no idea. We both were working for the UGM. So super funny. But yes, just absolutely loved getting to reconnect, hear your heart, and the work that you do at the UGM. What do you think is like the most difficult part of your role at the UGM?
Yeah, I think when I think when someone's sharing maybe an experience or a situation that they feel defeated, like that is the hardest thing to hear, especially like for an example, like a mom who doesn't have their kids is like something where it breaks my heart. And I don't have kids, but I'm like, that just breaks my heart of like, I can't imagine what it's like to be separated from your kids for this long.
Yep.
And then like to be able to just feel like, man, CPS has them, or I don't even know where they're living right now. Like, and to hear that, it like my heart sinks every single time.
Yeah.
Or even just sometimes like you'll have a lady that is like so in debt, and it's like, they're like, I don't know how I'm going to make like money because I have to pay so much off. Like
Yeah.
wow. That where it's like they've like so much has piled up that they don't even feel like they can do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think on the opposite end has been like the most rewarding part then? I think you kind of already tapped at it, but if there's anything else that sticks out to you.
Yeah, two things kind of. One as a leader, I feel like now that I've seen so many women graduate from the program, like I'm the worst person to talk to sometimes about like difficult seasons because I'm like, you're in a perfect position for God to do something amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing all of my ladies will tell you that. And they're like, oh my gosh, don't say that in front of Shai.
Like, wait.
Perfect opportunity.
Yes.
And so I just see so much hope now that I've seen people cross that line, not even a finish line, but just the next point, like to get to that. Like I've seen women get their kids back and to see the different things that the UGM offers where ladies have had debt wiped away. Like
amazing.
Like our different services that have offered a helping hand in a way that gives these ladies hope again. And so that is one of the other parts of the job, but also when they like get it, I feel like this is also translated into youth ministry as well. But when you see someone and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is what God created me to be.
Wow.
It is like the best feeling ever. They're like, Shai, I know what I'm doing. Or Shai, like I just applied for a job. Like I'm capable. And hearing them speak life over themselves is probably the most rewarding thing because I'm like, that was nothing I did. It was nothing even the program offered, but Jesus met you where you were and starting to get it. Like you're starting to understand that he's always loved you. He has a purpose. He has a plan. And I want you to continue to carry that.
Yeah.
Carry.
I love that. No, it's so good. So a final question for you is what do you think is like the most important lesson you've learned from working with this community of homelessness and addiction?
Mm-hmm. I think that I learned a lot about myself, first of all. I think I learned about the way that I lead and that specifically because I was at a point where I was also homeless, I came from like that basketball coach background of like, if I can do it, you can do it. We can all do this together, but not considering that everyone's experiences brings up different emotions, different triggers, all these different things. And so coming from a very grace-based perspective and even coming in alignment with what the UGM represents and coming in alignment with the word of God and understanding like Jesus is gentle, he is graceful, he does love with truth, but like, and it's such a powerful way that works through discipleship versus let's get someone to point A and this is how you do it. And it's not just a step-by-step process that looks the same for every single person. Everyone's life is completely different and God created us all differently and everyone has something different to offer. And so what I've loved about learning about these women is that they have so much to bring to the table. Like these women are so full of purpose and even more on fire for what other people should experience because of what they've been through. And there's the fire that comes from difficulty that I feel like is fostered inside of us when we walk through really hard seasons. And the Lord uses that to bring so much glory to his name. And I think because I look at the lives of the women that I've led, I think that I'm able to understand and I've learned that he can use everything that you've done for his glory. So like even in my own life and even in the lives of these ladies, like swearing was a big thing for me, a big thing that we're working on sometimes. In like switching that around, you become this powerful speaker and you're able to articulate words in a professional way. And God, I feel like God is able to use what not even the enemy uses for evil, but like the ways of our flesh and is able to turn those things into benefits of the spirit. And it's like, okay, well, now I can see the fruit of your life because you're doing this and this. And before maybe you weren't able to do this. And so I think the Lord just uses every single thing that we walk through in our hardship and continue to build it up. So that's the biggest thing I think I've learned through serving.
I love that. It's so evident that he has used the pain of your life to build this platform of reaching other women and helping alongside of them. And I love that you're able to articulate the fact that you may have gone through it. I think this was a phrase we used a lot during like COVID of 2020 of like, we're all in the storm, but we're in different boats. And so it's that same reality of you're going to be surrounded by so many women that have similarities, but the fact that you have the wisdom to realize everyone has a different response or different triggers, and being able to cater to each person, the way you change the curriculum of like, we're going to go through the same things, but it's going to be shaped a little bit differently because it's a heart, it's a compassion you have for these women, and you want to make sure that they get it. And I think that that is definitely a beautiful picture of discipleship and helping them become who God already sees them as, no matter what things are against them, what stumbling blocks are in the way, or challenges they may face. So, Shai, I am a big fan. I think what you're doing is incredible. I worked at the rescue shelter, and it was no joke. It is so hard. So I know maybe a little bit different with what our programs were, but I know that you see and hear about really, really challenging things. And it's weighty. And maybe actually let's ask this last question, because I think there could be other people that are listening that do go into jobs where it's emotionally daunting in some ways. We would call it like compassion fatigue, when you're like in it again and again, and you walk away and you're like, wow, this is heavy. What do I do? How do you restore your soul? How do you bring rest? How do you walk away on really hard days and say, okay, God, help me? What's your process like in that?
Mm-hmm. Well, one phrase I've adopted, especially in the last few months, because I got to that point where I was getting discouraged because I didn't feel like I was doing enough
Yeah,
for these ladies sometimes, and I didn't feel like I was the best leader. And already on your own, separate from leading anyone else, like you kind of have those insecurities that just are.
absolutely.
And so when you're leading people, I feel like it just amplifies all of those things. And so it got to the point where I felt like the Lord was like, it's not about you.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Thanks.
So,
Wait,
I,
what? Yeah.
I literally have it on a sticky note in my mirror in my bathroom. I have it in my room. I have it in my office, and I have it on my whiteboard in my office, like in
I love that.
all caps, that it's not about you. And so the
Mm,
minute I make it about me, it takes all of the glory and all of the honor away from what I was originally
wow.
doing, serving the Lord. And so I had to check my heart and position myself with that. And I think it takes that emotional responsibility.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you are satisfied because of the Lord, and that He is in charge of all of this, whether it's a program, whether it's your position, whether you're overseeing other people.
Yeah.
Like, it all belongs to Him. It's all from Him. It's all onto Him. And so if we remember that, it releases the burden off our shoulders. And then practically, I do listen to worship on the way home. My commute is like an hour 15.
Wow.
So I worship and pray in my car like there's no tomorrow.
I love that.
I also listen to a few podcasts, including
Yeah.
this one.
Oh,
But
hey.
I listen to podcasts on the way home just to like take my mind off of it
Yeah.
and be able to decompress. And then by the
Yeah.
time I get home, then I can be the best daughter and FaceTime my dad, or I can be the best friend and make sure I'm checking on my friends, and I can be the
Good.
best sister and check on my sister and stuff like
Wow.
that, to make sure that I'm still being the best person I can be
Yeah.
when I'm off the clock. And then the last thing I'll say is prioritizing Sabbath. Doing that, whether you can try your best to get a couple hours in. I feel like I'm someone that gets to the point of pride where I'm like, the week will not be finished unless I finish everything.
Literally.
But
Oh.
I feel like I had to reflect and even journal about that in the last couple of weeks, and look back and say, like, how much of this really depends on me if I don't finish? Like, and I'm like,
That's
it's
good.
not about me.
Yeah.
And then I have to like speak that over myself,
You're like,
remember.
okay, I'm going back to the Post-it notes.
Yeah. And then just being able to really disconnect. And that doesn't mean, like, I literally will silence my notifications on my emails, and tell my ladies even that, like, hey, I'm because what you accept is what you're going to allow. And so my lady, not to text me on the weekend of like, okay, Shy's on break. Maybe I should take a break. Like,
that's good.
The expectation is the same across the board. And so prioritizing going to church, prioritizing Bible study, and making sure that I'm getting poured into so that my ladies get the best of me on Monday.
Mm-hmm. I love that. No, that is so good. That margin, setting those boundaries and keeping it consistent, because all of a sudden we start to have this like guilt come through our heads of I'm not doing enough or I've got to do more. And just to your point, the Lord's like, really? You do? Like, just show up where I called you to show up. And also, take care of yourself where it's needed. Shy, you were an incredible guest on the show today. I personally took away so many notes and was challenged. So, girls, if you liked today's episode, make sure that you are following along, subscribe to the channel, share it on your social media. We have some exciting things coming up around the corner for 2025. So stay tuned. We're going to be launching some exciting news, but we also have Cherish Conference going on tour starting really soon in the beginning of the year of 2025. So again, make sure you are paying attention to social media to see all those updates. But we love you all. So glad you were here listening, and we will see you again soon.